Hi there and welcome to anybody who's logged onto the website or anybody on YouTube who's floating around. It's another one of our infamous RV Ops demonstrations, this time on the Tarp from DD Hammocks. DD Hammocks basically is an Edinburgh based company out of Scotland. Obvious to us, but maybe not obvious to anybody who's abroad. So the Tarp, why DD Hammocks? Well, they produce some exceptional equipment that's basically going to stand up to the rigours of being used on either exercise or operations. Had a lot of good feedback from it. It's very affordable and sits very nicely alongside the Hennessy range that we do, which is a bit of a more expensive piece of equipment. So without further ado, get rid of that and we'll move across. We've taken the liberty here, if you just pan across this way, Pete, we've taken the liberty of putting the tarp up. Some of you will say, well, okay, it's just a tarp, it's dead easy to string up. Well, we would agree, but we still think, like with all our equipment, it is certainly worth practicing before you start venturing out and using whatever equipment you use in anger. And the same goes for the tarp, because there are a couple of things that we've noticed that we want to draw to your attention, things that we think may be useful when you're using it and putting it up. So, the tarp comes with 4 guidelines and 4 pegs, which obviously secure the 4 corners. But there are, as you can see on the tarp, I'll just take my pencil out so I don't use my finger, there are a number of loops all over the hammock. So if you just come this way, Pete, one of the things you'll see if you pan down the ridge, there are loops all the way along the ridge. And what we've done in order to lift the tarp off the hammock is we have used a piece of paracord. But this is a secret, little top tip for you. If you come over this way, Pete, what we've actually used in conjunction with the paracord is this system here, which is 2 prusik loops which are tied onto the paracord going along the ridge and onto the lines coming off the hammock. The second prusik loop, this one down here, will become, the reason why we put it on there will become apparent in a moment when we're using the snake skins, or using the skins as they're called, snake skins being Hennessy of course. How do these work? Well, you can loosen them off, as you can see here. Now this whole system, you can move the tarp up and down the line, but what this does is actually locks off in place like so. So you can actually slide the prusik loop up, which puts a lot of tension on the tarp. Okay, so that's that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out the pegs, okay, and demonstrate how that second prusik loop comes into action, when we're using the skin. Okay, speak to you in a moment. Okay, moving on, what we've done is we've taken out all the pegs and detached, well, we haven't detached the guidelines, or leave them all attached, but we've taken out all the pegs, dismantled the tarp to a degree, we've undone the lines at one end, but we've left these lines up at this end just to give you a demonstration on what happens when we dismantle it. Okay, as we mentioned, there are 2 prusik loops, number 1 up here, which is attached to the paracord which runs along the ridge of the tarp, and also from that loop on one end of the tarp runs another prusik loop which comes down here, which is tied to the line coming off the hammock. Okay, if you pan this way, Pete, what we do now is we take down our line off our the ridge, the paracord, and we detach the elastic coming off the mosquito net, and we now come back over here, Pete. We now have 1 prusik loop which is basically now attached to the tarp. This prusik loop we slide along until it tensions the tarp on the line coming from the hammock, and this is the reason why. This way, Pete, here we have the skin from DD Hammocks, and this is where it all becomes apparent as to what this is for. As we're sliding this down, if we didn't have the prusik loop, what would happen is the hammock would race ahead and it would make an absolute nightmare trying to get it inside the skin. So by attaching this tarp to the line coming off the hammock, it now will stay static and allow us to feed it inside the snake skin. First things first, take all these lines, wrap them all up and pop them inside the mouth of the skin, and now we're good to go. One of the things that's very important, and one of the top tips that I can give you in respect of using these skins, is feed the hammock and the tarp into the skin. If you watch at my hands, what I'm doing is I'm actually taking the hammock and the tarp and I'm feeding it backwards inside the skin before I move the skin forward. So feed it up inside, move it forward. Feeding it back. Don't worry about the lines, they will all be sucked in. Just keep going. Feed it up inside. One second. And here we go. Then feed him up all the way up to the far end. Any loose lines that you have at the end, just wrap them loosely around your hand. Because when you when you put your hammock and your tarp back up, obviously all you have to do is slide the whole system backwards and everything will basically drop into place. Bit of attention to detail from DD, rather than having to tie an overhand loop, you can actually pull this, which closes the mouth of the snake, drop the toggle down. If you pan this way, Pete, all the way to this end, pull this down slightly just to tighten it all up. Once again, close the mouth of the snake. Then we can detach our hammock. Once again, use the knot on the back of the tree because it's not load bearing on the front. We drop that down. We come to this end, do exactly the same. At this end. The two ways of doing this, one of the things that we do is we're actually giving away an X-Bed large stuff sack with the hammocks. And that means that stuffing the hammock into the X-Bed large stuff sack makes it a lot easier to transport. If you don't want or don't have that option, the other option is to fold it and then using the lines, wrap them around, nice and tight, like so. And then turn it around. Once again, nice and tight, and we're good to go. That now could basically be put under the lid of your rucksack Bergen, or it could be placed inside. It's up to you how you want to carry it, but if it's a day set, you could drop it inside there. That is the tarp from DD Hammocks inside a snake skin, alongside the hammock. Thanks very much indeed for watching. Cheers for now. Okay, as we said earlier in the tarp demos, there'll be a very quick demonstration on how to tie a prusik knot. For anybody who's out there who's a climber, ski mountaineer, or bushcraft skills, all of you will be very aware of the prusik knot and how incredibly useful it is. So this demonstration is a very simple demonstration for those of you out there who are not familiar with it. Most important thing to understand and be aware of is that the twine or string that you're using has to be thinner than the piece of cord that you're tying it around. That's very, very important in order to get the friction. So here is a very simple prusik knot. If you pan down here, Pete, here we have a piece of rope, and what we do is we take our twine, which we've tied into a loop, and we place it across the piece of rope that we're going to tie it to. Keeping this loop, we then bring the back end round and through the hole, but then we keep going, go round again and back through the hole like so. Now we pull on this end, which tightens the whole thing up, and that is quite simply your prusik knot. And you can slide it that way and it locks off, or you can slide it the other way and it will equally lock off. I'm just going to tell you or show you a couple of other prusik knots which are very, very simple to do. It's all about getting friction onto that rope with your piece of twine. If we take our loop and then take our string and wrap it round and keep going round down the line, and then feed this end back through our loop like so, and now pull that down, it will have exactly the same effect. It won't move unless we push it. Slide it up and pull down. One other one for you, which is a very simple prusik loop, is keep hold of the loop, bring this round once, bring it round again, coming back on itself, and then straight through the loop like so, and that also locks off. I'll just demonstrate that one again very quickly for you. I'll make it big for you. So you've got big loop here, you're coming down the rope, and then you're coming back up the rope, across, back down and through like so, and that will lock off. That's a very simple prusik knot. Okay, so there you go. That's a little demonstration for you on the prusik knot. Hope it's of use, and thanks very much indeed for watching. Cheers.